Previously on the Jay and Dan podcast.
That's what Danny Greaves is doing. He's a huge success.
I want to know what jingles.
You know, the toilet jingle. Toilets. Hey, we've got toilets. Come and get your toilets.
That's not a real jingle.
Come and get...
That's...
You know, that one. Robin, would you consider getting into jingle writing?
I've considered that before, yeah. I'm not allowed to go in America yet. No, I gotta sort some things out.
Whoa, okay. We keep peeling this onion. $50K, I'll spend 3 days with Ben.
3 days in Vegas with Ben.
Sharing?
Booze,
we have to share a bed. We have to share a bed.
No, we could share a room.
Hotel room.
We could share a room, not a bed. Let's not get weird.
But if the listeners wanted you to share a bed and they paid you
$100K?
You're listening to the Jay and Dan podcast, presented by our good friends at Coors Light.
I was actually reading better than when I had no beer in me.
Dance. Dance.
Me read good. Hey, it's the Jay and Dan podcast for the week of March 12th, 2018. Speaking of reading, brought to you by our good friends at Coors Light. They got a fridge in the studio.
Yeah, it's awesome. Let's see what's in there.
Okay, Jay's rolling over to the fridge. The tape from the brand new Fridgeness is still in there.
Oh, it's plastic.
Oh, yeah, you got that brand new fridge smell.
Yeah, baby. We'll fill it, because Coors did send us some beers, so we're going to fill that with beers soon.
Yeah, we got beer. It's so silly. We got beers sitting in our office, and they're not in a fridge. They're just sitting there warm.
Yeah, we got some in our little mini fridge there that we're probably not supposed to have, but...
Hey, so getting back to me reading, I went to the old library the other day. And
just by yourself?
Yeah, little Ruby always likes to go over and get books. She gets 300 and reads half of one, and then we lose the other 299.
Now, just quick question. This is the Orono Library?
Yeah.
How big is this library? Is this like one shelf?
It's in an old house. It's a really cool library. It's straight out of like a storybook.
Is that a library or some old man's house who has books? He's like, come to my library. It's in the basement.
It's real. And I picked up Burt Reynolds' autobiography.
What's it called?
Burt?
That's pretty good.
I don't know.
Pretty good title.
Didn't check the title.
Have you finished it?
No, I just started on it.
I would like to read that. That would be good.
Him and his dad, quite a relationship.
Ooh, what happened? Is dad abusive, maybe?
His dad just like old-timey dad. Like he came back he had been away for months and years. Came in the door, saw him. He said, "You look well, son." Shook his hand, and then went in the bedroom with his mom for a day.
Yeah, well, I mean, was he away fighting some sort of military combat?
I should probably know where he was, but yeah. I just know he was away.
Because, I mean, if that was happening, I think that's understandable. But maybe they send Bert away with the grandparents for a week so Dad can relax a little.
And then John Voight wrote the opening.
Oh,
talked all about his time on Deliverance.
Oh, what a film!
And he said that's where he knew. He said this guy's going to be a star.
It was fantastic. It's a great movie if you've never seen it. It's a little disturbing, and by a little I mean completely disturbing.
And Voight said that movie isn't the movie it is without Burt.
Yeah, he was awesome in it. He was because he was in it, and it was such a highly acclaimed film. He was great. John Voight was great, and then he ended up doing all those good old boy movies, which I loved, like Smokey and the Bandit and Cannonball Run and Stroker Ace. All those movies are great, but yeah, he was a better actor than he was given credit for, I think, for sure. And then he married Lonnie.
And wasn't our old makeup artist, Joanna, her father was his agent?
Yeah, she told us this amazing story. Joanna, our makeup artist at Fox, she said her dad was like a Hollywood, manager, and that was fine. And then 3 years after we get to know her, she says something like, oh, yeah, Burt Reynolds. We were talking about Burt Reynolds' famous nude spread in Cosmopolitan where he was completely nude and he covered up his junk.
My erections have returned.
Oh, yeah, it got me hard. And she said, oh, Burt Reynolds, yeah, my dad managed him, like, in 1977. I was like, your dad managed Burt Reynolds when he was the biggest movie star in the world? And she's like, yeah, I guess. Like, she had no clue.
So I'm waiting to see if he pops up in the book, because he probably will.
Oh, yeah, you're right. He probably will. That's a good point. Wow. And then maybe Joanna will pop up as Burt Reynolds' illegitimate daughter.
Could happen.
And then, now I heard Burt doesn't have much money left. I think it all went to Lonnie. I think she took everything. in I think second divorced, maybe. I don't know. I don't think it's ended well for Burt. So that's the Burt Reynolds story. Yeah, let us know how that ends up. When was it written? Do you have any idea? Like when
Never
he wrote
checked that. No.
Okay, all right. Again, are we sure that's a real library? Just a bunch of books in an old man's house.
1,000%.
Who's running it?
They've got an electronic system to scan the books out, everything. Okay. I'm the fucking mayor.
Okay, I don't know. I like pictures.
Okay,
I like pictures.
I'll take pictures. Hey, big weekend. I went to my first Raptors game of the season.
Yeah, you were courtside.
I'd never had. Have you ever had courtside seats?
Here's the thing. You had a choice between courtside and luxury box.
Yep.
And you wanted to be in the luxury box. I didn't quite understand that. Why was
But
that?
it worked out in my favor. I just didn't want to be like, yeah, give those to me, because they were work seats. So I said, I'm fine in the suite. And then,
since when are you that generous? That makes no sense. There's more to it. You wanted the free booze in the suite. That was my theory.
No. And then I lucked out because I was told, no, you've got the courtside seats. So is that courtside? Unreal.
And you caught a ball.
Yeah, I was taking a little video for the Instagrams, and the one time I look away from the play, the ball landed in my lap.
Did it hit you? Like, did it?
Didn't hit my
you in
face.
the nuts?
Nothing. It was like perfectly placed. It like fell and landed on a bed of marshmallows. It was that soft of a landing.
That's what your junk is like? A bed of marshmallows? Your genitals? That's what you say to the ladies now. Ladies, you want to get together with a guy whose genitals like a bag of marshmallows? This is your guy, right?
Yeah, the
here.
woman, she put the finger in the hole.
Isn't there an EDM guy now called Marshmallow?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, that's right. That's Dan. That's Dan. Hey, but you went to like the best game of the year. They snapped Houston's, 17-game win streak or whatever it was. And
it was pretty crazy.
That was pretty legit. Pretty legit.
Yeah, I got to... I tell you, the in-game experience at an NBA game...
It's the best. It's the best.
The NHL doesn't hold a candle to it.
They do have the advantage of many stoppages in play in which they can entertain. Well, they have to entertain the kids, and they do a great job of it. But
then you've got the problem with the ice. You can't have people going out on the ice every 2 seconds.
Maybe they should. Maybe that's a secret. That's what they should be doing. Hey, but then, so you went to that game, and then people. I saw someone sent a tweet to you today. It was something to the effect of, "Ooh, were you feeling okay the next day?
Yeah.
You were taking a lot of trays and trays of drinks." And like as soon as he said it, I was like, "Yeah, that sounds like Toolsy. That sounds like something he would do."
No. So again, when you're courtside, you aren't getting up during the game. I came in, started the game with a Caesar, had that for the first 2 quarters, then went up and visited in the suite, brought a red wine down, and then had that for the third and fourth.
So I just want to clarify, you went to the suite to get the free booze and then came down.
No, our bosses said, hey, come up and say hi. So I had to go up. One of those things.
Okay.
And it's not easy to traverse around that place in the...
Well, especially when people are like, Toolsy.
A lot of people wondering about the suit because I wore a suit on the show on Thursday.
Oh, yeah, there people are asking you about that?
And it was way too large, and they asked if I burned the suit. I'm donating the suit.
Well, hey, that means people are watching, so that's a good sign.
So, yeah, is that a lot of drinks? Having a Caesar for 2 quarters and a red wine for the last 2?
So, but you didn't just have a Caesar. You had a Caesar, because you had a guest with you. You had something for that guest, too, no? Or just you? You were the only one drinking? The person you brought to the game?
They were carrying their own drink.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought maybe you were carrying her drink.
No.
Oh, okay. Get your own drink. You're getting the best seats in the house. Get your own damn drinks.
So, yeah, I responded to that guy. I'm like, yeah, what are you doing?
I don't know. There's got to be a reason he said that. I think maybe you're withholding some information. Are you secretly bringing booze in?
I snuck it all in. I had a Mickey with me.
That would be amazing if you did that, sitting in courtside seats.
Welcome to my world.
That would be great. And then
I was right across from
Spanky's.
Drake.
Didn't you go to Spanky's?
Went to Spanky's on Saturday night.
Yeah, I saw your picture there.
I gave Tubesy the tour of Peterborough.
Oh, because Tubesy's not from Peterborough. That's right. That's right. And you said you had the best steak you've had in your life? Was it the guy's house who has the library?
No, it was at, I want to get the name right. I think it's Johnny Vino's in Peterborough.
Sounds legit.
It has changed my life.
Doesn't sound like a real place.
It was a Wagyu beef steak, not cheap, but best steak I've had at a restaurant in my life. So way to go, Johnny Vino's.
Men, feed my mouth.
Johnny Vino's Italian Grill and Bar.
And you went with
one of
dudes.
the owners.
This wasn't a date or anything. This is with dudes.
And one of the owners, former Capitals great, John Druce.
No way. Druce, right. Former
Druce,
Peterborough Pete, right?
That's right.
Now, have we gotten any closer to you being willing to discuss your dating life on this podcast?
Come on, it'll be fun.
Don't know what you're talking about.
At what point will you feel comfortable with that? Because I feel like the listeners really want
10 years' time.
Wow, okay. Well, I feel like you're never getting married again, so you'll still be dating.
I'm consumed by kitties right now. They're ruining my life.
Why not just one? One was plenty. You fell for it.
No, but here's the thing. When you leave the little kitty by itself, so the story is my daughters, I said, when I get back from the Olympics, we're getting a cat for you guys. And they said, okay, perfect. So we went to the cat store, the Humane Society.
By the way, Christoph killing it with the drops already.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there was this cute little kitty. And then they said, it's Brother's Red over there, too.
Yeah, of course they did. They're like, we got to get these cats.
No, kitties, they were lined up out the door to get these things. So we went home with 2 kitties, and now they have a companion when I go to work.
Now, I'm just going to guess at their names, Ben and Teller.
Meow. No. Ron and Ginny.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Ron and Jeremy.
No, Ron and Ginny Weasley.
Oh, they're reading the Harry Potts.
Harry Potter. A lot of people know those names. They know it right away. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I barely knew. I suspected, but I barely knew. I would have preferred Ron and Jeremy. Were you with me when we were at the Rainbow and the Sunset Strip and Ron Jeremy
No, I wasn't
was
there that
outside and he was taking pictures with all these what looked like bachelor parties, and God, he was fat. Oh my God, he looks horrible. He definitely cannot suck his own anymore. That was one thing he used to be famous for, that he had such a long penis he could suck his own penis. At that point, do you leave the house?
I think so. I'm rolling up my rim. Christoph brought us in some steep teas.
Yes, he did, from our friends at Tim Hortons.
Please play again.
Our other friend Robin White, who we heard last week, who seems to be doing much better. He's found a lady friend. He withheld a story that he's going to tell us on a later podcast that I'm really looking forward to. But he is also going to be joining us at the Spring Invasion in Saskatoon, April the 20th, Friday, April the 20th. So if you're in Saskatoon, get your tickets now. The Rock 102 Spring Invasion. It's at Prairie Land. I hope I'm getting all the things right. I think I am. It is such a fun time, and we're looking forward to going back again. And now Robin's going to be there, and we're going to try to convince Robin to get up on stage and belt out a tune with the Rock 102 band.
Will they allow that?
Could they afford not to allow that? You have that kind of talent in the building. Do you want to withhold it from the people? The people of Saskatoon who paid good money to come in and see the Rock 102 band, they're going to have a legitimate front man in Robin White.
We talk about Saskatoon a lot, but I think it's now near the top of the Canadian cities that I don't live in that I've been to the most in the last 5-6 years.
For sure. We go there a lot and do a lot of events there, and we legitimately like it. And there's a question we ask every guest who comes on the podcast who regularly tours or performs across the country. Jerry D., Steve Patterson of the Debaters, Max Kerman from the Arkells. We asked all these guys, Alan Doyle. We asked all these guys.
Hey, who wants the
We asked them that.
Christoph.
He is killing it today. And then we asked him, after we asked him who wants to we asked them, what's your favorite city that you had never been to, never grown up in, across the country, and that surprised you? And every one of them answered Saskatoon. They all loved it, because you never leave there not having a good time. You always have a great time in the Toontown. So we'll be there. So get your tickets now. I assume tickets are on sale. And maybe you can win them by listening to Rock 102.
You haven't mentioned who our guest is going to be on the podcast.
This is exciting. Our guest is the old man who runs the library in downtown Orono. He's a convicted felon, and he's wanted. No, our guest is actually Alan Walsh. He is an NHL player agent for Octagon Hockey, based out of Los Angeles. And you may know him best from Twitter. He's an excellent Twitter follow, very outspoken, obviously very pro player because he is a player agent. But he's not afraid to call out Gary Bettman on several different issues, the Olympics, concussions, lockout, etc. So we're gonna get to all that with Alan. He's a great follow. He's had some back and forths with some of our guys. Darren Dreger and him had a little Twitter exchange a few years ago. But I think they're actually quite friendly. So yeah, Alan's going to come on in just a little bit.
Just saw Alex Ovechkin score. There was a replay of him scoring his 600th. Man, we are living in a day and age in which there are a lot of Hall of Famers.
Here's the other thing about Ovi. Is he even 33 years old?
Yeah, he's like 32, 33.
He's so young. Like, you think of Ovi, I guess I do anyway, and I think it seems like he's played for 20 years. But he's a young guy. Like, now he's going great, but he looks great. 32 years old, Stoff says. 32.
32.
So he could play. He doesn't get injured.
Yeah, because someone asked him today.
He could play for another 8 years.
Someone asked if Line A reminds him of a young Ovi, and he said, "I'm still young."
He is. He is still young. What else did he say about Line A? Anything good?
That's all I saw.
He's like, don't talk to me about some Finn.
So, yeah, seriously, like Ovechkin and Crosby alone, but there's so many, the cast of characters for the stars in the NHL right now.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a fun time in the league right now.
Fun time to be alive.
Fun times in Cleveland today.
Fun times in Cleveland today.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to bring up something else. What the hell was it? Something happened.
You pooped?
Yeah, the woman, she put the finger in the hole.
Yeah, that? Was it that?
No. There was a shootout on the 401 today. There was a bank robber.
Maybe that was the guy following me into work that I was telling you about, the truck driver who rode my ass for about 4 miles and then tried to run me over.
Doesn't sound good.
It didn't feel good. It didn't feel good at all.
Well, get out of the way. Convoy coming through.
I wanted to get through because there was a guy in front of me going way too slow in the left-hand lane, in the speedy lane. And the big rig behind me was like honking his horn at me. Like, I'm like, dude, I'm wanting to get past this guy as much as you do, man.
It's like Maximum Overdrive.
Yes, very much like Maximum Overdrive, if you've ever seen that flick. It was actually kind of terrifying.
Yeah, everything electric came alive.
Yes. AC/DC did the soundtrack.
Here's what I was going to ask you. Have you heard the new Justin Timberlake song, and do you know who's on it?
Okay. Is there one with the Bon Iver guy?
Not sure about that one, but this is from...
Oh, Chris Stapleton?
Yes.
I haven't heard that one, but I heard he is on one of his new songs. Is it good?
So a country singer collaborating with Timberlake.
Well, he's done stuff with him before.
With Stapleton?
Yeah, at award shows. At award shows. Timberlake's really like, I'm a mountain man now. Like, one of the songs on his new album is called Flannel. Like, did he just run out of songs and just look over in his dresser? Oh, there's, like, it could have been called Socks.
Does Stapleton's reputation in the country world take a hit? Or are they like, yeah, man, collect money when you can?
Yeah, I think he just does whatever he wants now. He just goes for it. I don't know. I think the country music community is just legitimately happy when people are listening to country music. So if that guy's a star, then good on him. Florida Georgia Line, good on them too.
Yeah, river time.
Are they still doing their thing, Florida Georgia Line?
They're like in the biggest pop song on the radio right now, a duet with a pop artist.
What?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Is it the Monday Night Football theme?
No.
Is it that one?
I don't know. What's the name of that song, Christoph? The big hit, Florida Georgia Line, and like...
Crossing the Border?
It's an artist that, for the life of me, I could never remember.
Kesha?
No, it's not Kesha.
Debbie Gibson?
Not Debbie Gibson. Debbie Gibson.
Sir Mix-a-Lot?
Debbie Gibson for like $200 will record a personal message for you. I think.
Really?
You can go on like her website.
Oh, that's sad.
I'm going to be doing that.
Yeah. That's. I'm not saying I won't do it, but it's still sad. She was never. She didn't have a lot of charisma. They always made a big deal out of her writing her own songs. That Tiffany didn't, but she did. But they were terrible songs. Shake your love. I just can't shake your love.
The Cruise?
Shake your love. Just awful. What? The Cruise? That's the artist? Is that made up? Tom Cruise? Tom Cruise.
What's the name of the song, Christoph?
I thought the name of the song was Cruise.
Oh, I see.
Okay.
Who
are the artists?
Georgia Line or
with who? No, that's the Florida Georgia Line's big hit by themselves.
Gotcha.
Stormy Daniels?
Sorry, are
Is
you
that
looking for the Tim McGraw one or Luke Bryan?
Nope.
Tim McGraw collapsed on a stage in Dublin last night. I hope he's okay. He's like 98 pounds at this point. Our friend, our other former makeup artist,
Steinfeld.
Okay, yeah, there it is.
So Megan Redwood just chimed in with that one.
Oh, Megan, thank you. Megan's
on top of
handling the TV side of this.
Haley
podcast.
Steinfeld.
Is she an actress?
That's a made-up name.
Yeah, that can't be right.
Yes.
She's an actress, right?
From Pitch Perfect.
Okay. Is she the heavier girl?
No, she's like
I don't think so.
Haley Steinfeld.
I'm sorry. Is she the heavier girl? What a Jesus. Well, this is devastatingly interesting podcasting. Why don't we give
Haley Steinfeld?
Yeah, that's what he just said.
I thought he said Kaylee. Okay.
Let's give Alan a call, and we'll give him a call a little bit early and have a little chat ski with him. Toolsy,
yeah,
I got asked to host Overdrive on Friday.
Nice.
And they wanted to see if you would come join me, and I said, no, we're out of town. You think we'd be good as afternoon radio?
You aren't going to do it? You're out of town?
Well, I'll be in L.A. I'll be gone.
All right.
You could do it.
No. Spring break.
Why? But why couldn't you just bring the girls in? They could be your co-hosts.
That'd be good radio. We're going away, I think. I don't know. I don't like planning things.
Steve Anthony, if you're a fan of Much Music, announced today, retiring from TV. Done.
When?
I'm not sure when it happens, but he made the announcement today. Maybe we should have Steve on. Be fun to talk to him about the old Much days.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. Okay, I'll reach out to Steve. That would be a blast, actually. He's interesting. I love him. He's a great guy. He's a legitimately
Will he be able
guy.
to like? Oh no, he'll fit right in because we don't really stick to topics that long.
Oh my God, yeah, he's all over the place, and it's perfect. You guys should be doing a show together. It would
ADD radio.
Oh man, it would be all over the place. He did once say to me that he wanted to get. He was working on some sort of show that would have brought together a bunch of old Much VJs, like a radio show where they would rotate in as guest hosts. Erica M, Master T.
Can't they just go to a radio
Ward.
station with that idea?
I guess so. I don't know why it hasn't happened yet. I'd listen. I'd love to hear what those guys are up to. Yeah, maybe it wouldn't be that interesting.
They do that on satellite radio. All the old MTV hosts.
Yes, right. Yeah. Satellite radio is fascinating. There's some legitimately bad shows on there. Like for every Stern, which is great, and Sirius XMU, which is great, there's a lot of on there. A lot of garbage.
Well, you've got to fill 200 stations.
No, I get it. Like it can't all be gems.
You got to listen to Trucker Talk. I listen to it on the way home some nights. It's just great.
Wait, is that a channel?
Yeah. It's
what?
like,
how do I not know about this?
It's like trucker radio.
So it's just truckers on their CBs talking to each other?
Well, they call in and I don't know.
That sounds like a great idea, actually.
Outlaw Country, do you listen to that?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
And I like XMU. I love Hair Nation. I've reverted back to my 1980s self. I listen to a lot of hair metal on there. I listen to One Spit and Twice Shy on the way in by Great White. Hard to listen to Great White without thinking about that. What happened?
Why don't we have a station on there? TSN Radio.
Yeah. Stuff? Why? ESPN has a station. Why don't we have a station?
Christoph, can you work on that?
Christoph's just
I
trying.
will attempt to.
Christoph's just trying to keep Landsberg getting up in the morning for TSN radio.
Has he ever slept in?
Yeah, has Landsberg ever stepped
no,
in?
He hasn't slept in. Apparently, once when they were in Cleveland for the conference finals, he almost slept in, but he was there in the end. So exciting story right there.
How do you almost sleep in?
Well, they had to call his hotel room a bunch of times.
That happened to me in Fort McMurray all the time. I had to do the morning sports shift on the radio, and my news director, Rod McDonald, he'd call, "Hey, Dan, you coming to work today?" I'd look, it's 5:25. My first update's 5:30.
Yikes.
I'd make it there on time.
Oops, I did give you the wrong number, Stoff. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, some old lady kept picking up, and she seemed rather annoyed.
Oh, man.
I'm like, is Alan there?
Here we go. I've got it for you. There it is.
Who's
Try that
Alan?
Was it the old lady who runs the library in Orono?
It might have been.
We should have got the old lady on the podcast. Really confused her.
Yeah. Asked her what's going on in LA these days. Yeah, I'm going to LA. I'm going to Disney. Back to Disney, Toolsy.
And it's a heat wave out there right now.
Yeah, but it's going to rain when I show up. It's going to rain. It rains 3 days a year. The 3 days I'm going to show up. It's brutal.
Mucho no bueno.
Yeah, I'm really upset about it, actually. I don't need it to be scorching hot.
It's perfect. So you'll be able to recount us with your travel tales on next podcast.
Yeah, I will. But one thing that the guys at Fox used to say to me is the best time to go to Disney is if it's raining a little bit. Because the locals, as you know, cannot drive in the rain. And they are legitimately afraid of going anywhere in the rain, and they don't go to Disney. It rains. So
yeah,
hopefully I'll just be, I'll just go in a loop on Space Mountain, just go over and over and over with my daughter, who's 2.
Is she big enough to go on the Cars ride?
We were talking about that today. I don't know. It's a height thing, right? It's not an age thing. And she's a giant. She's as tall as her mom now. Her mom's 5'3". She's about the same height. She's 2. So if the NHL legitimately locks up some sort of ladies pro league, then my friend Alan Walsh is going to sign her as a client, and we'll make millions together. Alan Walsh is on the line from Octagon Hockey. How are you, sir? How are things?
I'm doing great. How you doing, boys?
We're doing excellent. Was there a heat wave just recently out there?
I don't know. It rained for 3 or 4 days straight in L.A., and my wife and I took off to Napa with a couple of great friends of ours, and it was beautiful.
Oh, that sounds nice. Now, let me guess. I'm just going to guess on the friends. Mr. and Mrs. Darren Dreger. True or false?
You know what? I'm no comment.
You are amazing because not only are you one of the top player agents working around the NHL, but you are an amazing voice on Twitter and very outspoken. First of all, let's talk about your client, Marc-Andre Fleury, before we get into your Twitter, the stuff you do on Twitter. What a season for him, what a comeback, and what a season for the Vegas Golden Knights. Take us through the process of having a client like that go to an expansion team and then all of a sudden have this insane season where everything seems to go right for the team.
Change is good for everyone. And there are very few players in the league that spend their whole career with one team. It's really just a handful of guys. And, a lot of people, myself included, always looked at Mark as a guy that had a great chance to maybe being a Penguin for life. But as I say to guys all the time, anytime there's an injury, whether it happens to you or it happens to somebody else on your team, it creates opportunity for another player. And hats off to Matt Murray. He stepped in under great pressure as a very young guy, and it just became obvious at a certain point in time last year that despite the fact that everyone loved Mark, the organization, his teammates, the city, the media, And anybody who's ever come into contact with, I don't know if there's a more loved guy out there than Marc-Andre Fleury, that he would be moving on. And the question was how we were going to do this. And I went into Pittsburgh, and Mark and I sat down and we talked about all of the different possibilities that were out there. And Mark said to me one thing. He said, Alan, no matter how this plays out, I love this team and I love my teammates, and I don't want to do anything to be a distraction or to hurt them at all. So I went and I met with Jim Rutherford. We spent some time together, and we talked about the different options that were on the table. One was a trade at some point before the deadline. Another was not trading Mark, but potentially buying him out if he refused to waive his no-move clause to make himself available in the expansion draft, or just agreeing to waive the no-move and exposing himself to Vegas in expansion. And I sat with Jim and I said, what's your preference? Because I know Mark would want to know that. You know, I've never really told the story to anyone before, and Jim said, well, Alan, my great preference, being selfish, is to have Mark here all year. I don't want to trade him. His teammates don't want him to be traded. And you never know what can happen. An injury can happen, and Mark could all of a sudden be the guy again. And you know, but I would need you to agree now to waive the no move and allow Vegas to take him in expansion. And I went back to Mark and we talked about it, and Mark said, that's fine. Let's do it. We signed some paperwork under the stealth of night and filed it very quietly with the NHL and then locked it down, and no one really heard that it was done, but it was done fairly early in the process. It was signed and sent to the league probably in November, December. And we played all year knowing, Mark and I, and the people in Pittsburgh, that in management and coaching staff, that, you know, there was a 99.999% chance that Mark would end up, in Vegas by operation of waiving the no move for the expansion draft.
That's an amazing story, because you really gave us a window into how you deal with GMs. Or I don't think everything's obviously that amicable for you, though, is it, Al? Like, that seems like a pretty good relationship you have with Jim.
Well, Jim is a man of honor, and anybody who's ever dealt with him, I think, feels the same way. But the reality is, 95% of the time, the player and agent's interests align with the team. And there are 5% of the time where the interests don't align. And as an agent, you have to stand up and represent your client to the best of your abilities. Sometimes, and I'm pleading guilty here, in that 5% of the time, I will go out there and be zealous. Some people could say overzealous. I don't really care what other people think. I only care about what my client wants and what my client authorizes me to do. But for anyone out there that has any doubts, I would never say anything. I would never do anything without getting my client's explicit okay before doing it.
Let's go back to Vegas and the player experience of the Knights that live there, that play there, that have their families there. How have they found it living in Sin City?
Well, I have two clients that I work with directly on Vegas. There's Mark and there's David Perra, who's also having a career year right now. I believe today with an assist on the first goal, he's up to 62 points right now in 63 games played, which is an extraordinary season by any measurement. The guys mostly live in Summerled, close to the practice rink. I'd say probably 19, 20 guys live within an 8 to 10 minute drive of the practice rink, which is a 20, 25-minute drive to T-Mobile, to the Strip.
Okay, so there's some separation there. So they aren't...
That's probably a good thing, Alan.
Yeah.
It's definitely a good thing, but, you know, I've been to 7 games now in Vegas this year, regular season games, and the atmosphere in the rink is unreal. You know, after the first intermission, I've seen a couple of Cirque du Soleil shows on the ice. After the second intermission, they have Blue Man Group. I mean, it's just extraordinary, the in-game experience. But if you're living in Vegas and you're a player, you know, you have your pick of some of the top restaurants in the world right there with some of the top chefs in the world. You've got your pick of shows, whether it's Elton John or Absinthe is the hot show that all the players are going to see right now, concerts. There's really so much to do, not just for the players and their wives, but for the whole family, that I think the players over the course of living there realized the image of Vegas, you know, playing blackjack all night and everything else you got there, Sin City, really isn't reality for any of the guys or for most people who live in the city.
It would be for Dan Allen. But
that would be
different.
For me.
That's
1,000%.
Totally different. That's a different
well,
story.
I was not really considering the two of you in that, but you know, I would, knowing what I know about you guys, I tend to agree.
Now, I want to change the subject to the Olympics. We just got back from Korea. It was a great experience, but I think everyone agrees that it would have been even better had NHL players been involved, and I know you're a big proponent of that. Do you see for Beijing, just hearing some of the things that Gary Bettman has said have confused the hell out of me, and I know they've confused the hell out of you too, Alan. Do you see a scenario where the players are in Beijing for 2022 at this point?
I would venture to say right now they're going. I think the league wants them to go. The league wants NHL players in Beijing. China is a huge part of the league's overall global strategy, if you can call it that. And I think that, you know, playing games over in China, going to play regular season games in China, it would make no sense, even for the NHL, to not make a deal to send the players there in 2022. The big thing with Gary Bettman, in my mind, is Bettman knows the players want to go. And he's never going to give the players something for nothing. So in 2018, for the Olympics that you guys were just at and had a very good time, I was following what you guys were doing over there and very impressed with the work. What Gary said was, if you recall, yeah, we'll go. But you guys are going to have to agree to extend the CBA a specific amount of time. Don't reopen and extend it 2 years, and you guys can go. And the players virtually unanimous turned that down.
It was the most ridiculous request ever. No, the players would never have agreed to that, right?
Never. But Gary Bettman was not going to allow the players to go for nothing.
But why not just have them happy? What's wrong with that?
Because he's the consummate negotiator, and he saw the players wanted to go, and it's a classic form of negotiation. Take something off the table, and then offer to put it back on the table as long as you give me something. And that's what he tried to do with the 2018 Olympics. And to me, the tragic part of that was the players were held hostage because it was not in their control to make the deal to go on their own. I admire someone like Alex Ovechkin who said, well, I'm going anyways. But I knew that the NHL would invoke their contracts and have the IIHF and the IOC step in and say, we're not going to allow players to come over, even if they're willing to breach their contracts to come over. And that's just the nature of Gary Bettman. Let's face it, he doesn't love the game. He doesn't care about the players one iota. Just look at his entire history of player safety, if you can call it that, over the years. It's really just about lining the owners' pockets with money, much of it coming from the players.
What you bring up the player safety issue, you've been talking a lot about this on Twitter. You have to follow Alan on Twitter. He's such a great follow. There's a recent, I believe it's an HBO documentary, Alan, and you've been talking about this. Gary's sort of continual reluctance to acknowledge the connection between concussions and CTE. What is really in it for him to continue to take this stance from your perspective?
I think a lot of the stance is probably foreshadowed by the concussion lawsuit. And I think the wider issue is, why doesn't the NHL owners, why don't they sit down with Gary and say, all right, there are literally hundreds of retired players who are struggling right now, who are having difficulty making it through a day, cannot hold a job, and they need help. Instead of fighting this lawsuit, which is just delaying the inevitable, the NHL is on the wrong side of the science, and sooner or later, the ability to deny the science won't be there anymore. Before the league gets to that point, why don't they step forward and say, let's get together with the PA, let's get together with reps, alumni association or a group of retired players, and let's figure out how to help the players and settle this lawsuit. And many people think, and the NHL's been leading this charge, you retired players, you're just jealous of all the money the guys are making today, and you're looking for a handout. I've heard that a lot. You're looking for a handout. No. The players are not looking for, money to drop out of the sky so they can go buy a house or go on a nice vacation or buy a new car. They're looking for money to pay their medical expenses. The primary thing they're asking for in the concussion lawsuit is medical monitoring. And the NHL has denied them this and has maligned their ask, their position, their legal position, by continuously denying any link at all between concussions, subconcussive blows to the head, and an association or link with CTE. And my passion for this issue comes from situations like this. About 3 years ago, I got a call from a client of mine who played in the NHL for almost 18 years. He had been retired for a few years, and he called me, and he was literally in tears. And he said, Alan, I need help. I left the supermarket today, and I got lost on the way home. I couldn't remember how to get home. It's only 2 miles. And I do that drive every day for the last 7-8 years almost. And I called my wife crying, and I said, help me. I can't get home. I don't know whether to turn right or left. I don't know where I am. I'm lost. And, it was a fear I heard in his voice. Do I have CTE? Is this how it starts? Is my life going to spiral out of control? The next time he may have an argument with his wife, is that the anger that they're talking about? And when people you represent and you care about and you love start coming back to you with these issues, and I remember asking him, I said, how many concussions have you had in your career? Let's remind me. And he said, 3 or 4 before I got to the NHL. 4 when I was in the NHL, but there were probably another 6 or 7 that were never diagnosed. It's like, holy smokes, we're up to like 14, 15 concussions. Now, how many times have you had a subconcussive blow to the head, a blow or a jolt that doesn't rise to the level of concussion? You add that up over an 18-year career, thousands and thousands and thousands. And here he is retired. He gave his life to hockey. He played the game. Yes, he was well compensated, but no one ever told him that he might be at risk of CTE down the road. This was never disclosed. And the NHL, year after year after year, threw these guys back out there while they were suffering through concussion symptoms. And, hey, if you don't go back out there, we'll send you down. We'll terminate your contract. You had no choice if you wanted to keep playing. And those stories, would come back to me over and over and over and over again. And that's where my passion for this issue comes from.
So that's a deep topic, one we could talk about forever. We wanted to get to so many things. The one thing I wanted to ask you about was goalie interference, offsides. It's annoying the hell out of fans. It's annoying the hell out of players. What's the solution? Do the players have a solution?
What's goalie interference? I don't know if anybody knows what it is.
Is it a chance that Gary Bettman says, okay, let's just scrap that. Let's do away with it.
I have no idea what the league is going to do. What I find most interesting right now is they're lashing out at the media who are making it or identifying it as an issue. And typical NHL, the moment you criticize them for something, and justifiably so, for creating this ridiculous policy that no one knows what it is, they're just going after the people who are highlighting how ridiculous this is night after night after night. And I think, goalies have been run over, and goalies do need some protection. But what's going on right now has gotten so ludicrous and out of control that, on any given night, in any given rink, anytime there's just a tiny little bit of contact, no one knows how the call is going to go. And I'm someone who agrees that goalies need to be protected. I mean, Marc-Andre Fleury's had a couple of concussions from getting run over once this year early in the season in Vegas. And there's a number of goalies out there that have had concussions in the last couple of years. So I think the principle of providing some extra protection to goalies is a good policy. But the way they've implemented it and the way that it's being enforced and the haphazard nature and inconsistencies have made them a laughingstock. So, I wouldn't be surprised if Bettman gets so frustrated by the way the media has criticized the league, coaches, general managers have spoken out, players have spoken out. Bettman just throws up his hands and says, hey, let's just scrap this. I'm surprised he hasn't done that already. How to fix it? It's one of those times where I can genuinely say, to you guys, I don't know. I don't know. I think, dial it back a little bit, but it's always going to be left open to interpretation. And if they dialed it back, which is, I think, what they're leaning towards right now, will they be able to consistently implement it around the league where, me, coaches, players could all sit there and explain what is and what is not goalie interference, because we can't do it right now.
No chance.
Maybe they have to bring back foot in the crease. Okay. Before I let you go, Alan, I'm going to put this is the dream question for you. You're suddenly you've got the ear of all NHL owners. Gary's retired. Who is your new commissioner?
Yeah.
Who do you want to be? Who is the person who you feel? Because we all feel the same way. It's time for Gary to go. Who could step in right now and really take the league to that next level the way an Adam Silver has in the National Basketball Association?
There's only one person for the job, and it's me. And then I immediately want to open up CBA negotiations, and we're getting rid of the cap, and we're getting rid of escrow. Problem solved. Next question.
Hey, I have a legit question before, because this is the first time I've wondered about it. With weed becoming legal in Canada in the summer, what does the NHL do about that? They must have had talks.
It's interesting you say that, because it's not just Canada, but it's also California.
Sure, yeah.
It's been legal now since January 1.
And Colorado,
and Colorado as well. Now, the NHL drug testing program, they test players 4 times randomly over the course of the season, and into the summer. Players are drug tested in the summer, but they're only drug tested for performance-enhancing drugs and or masking agents of performance-enhancing drugs. They are not specifically, I want to be careful what I say here. The test is sensitive to recreational drugs, but a positive test for any kind of recreational test, a drug, cannot trigger any kind of discipline or anything beyond a phone call that is made to the player by the doctors overseeing the drug program to ask if the player has an issue or needs help. And it is done on a strictly confidential basis.
So I guess legitimately a player could say, "I do need help, and this prescription is legit, and you can't suspend me for it."
Right. I mean, it's fairly. I don't think I'm disclosing anything confidential here. Players have tested positive for recreational drugs, but it's completely anonymous and confidential. So there's Dr. Shaw, who runs the program on the NHLPA side, Dr. Lewis on the NHL side. Dr. Shaw, on a positive test, could call the player and say, listen, confidentially, just between me and you, in your last drug test, there was a positive test for this substance. It's not performance enhancing. You can't be suspended. You can't be put into the program. But do you need help? Would you like some drug counseling? Can we assist you in any way? And the player could say, yes, I have a problem. Or the player can say, nope, I'm good. Thanks for the call. Got to go.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Didn't know that.
Man, we could talk to you forever, Alan, but we actually have to go do our TV show now and pay the bills. So, listen, you are so great. I hope you come on with us again and have several more weekends in Napa with the Draggers, and best of luck to you for the rest of the season, and best of luck to Marc-Andre Fleury too, because boy, that's a nice story. I like hearing that.
Thanks a lot. It's great being on with you guys. I'll send my best to the Draggers and reach out anytime you'd like me to join you again.
You're the best. Thanks, good. Alan.
Okay, guys.
That is Alan Walsh from Octagon Hockey.
What's his Twitter handle?
It is Walsh A, all one word. Walsha.
Walsha.
Walsh A, at Walsha. Highly recommend him as a
So
Twitter
NHLers can smoke all the weed they want.
Yeah, I guess that's really what it comes down. But not just the weed. I guess they could do other recreational drugs too, couldn't they? I mean, yeah, that's fascinating to me. Boy, that was a very revealing interview. But he didn't say anything that's going to get him in trouble.
No, that was great.
It's fine. It's fine. That was fun.
Christoph, thanks for the tea, buddy.
Thanks very much, Christoph. Lots of fun drops there. Really enjoyed that. You know what? I forgot to ask Alan at the end. I was going to, because I think maybe you might be in the market for some representation, Toolsy, and he would be a great guy for you. He would fight for you and your needs.
Maybe if he becomes the commish, I'll be like assistant commish.
How crazy would that be? You'd just be in charge of calling all the players who had tested positive for recreational drugs.
I'll be his.
Can
turtle.
I join you this weekend?
I'll be his hype man. I'll be his turtle.
Right.
I'm the f***ing mayor.
Yes, you are. Okay, well, thanks for listening, everybody. Off to LA this week. Toolsy's off to play with his kittens.
Yeah.
And
meow. Kitty world.
We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening.
Yeah.